You say, Chris, I'm still not convinced that Old Testament saints went to the heart of the earth and that they didn't go up to heaven until after Jesus was resurrected. Got a few more verses for you. 1 Corinthians 15:20, but now is Christ risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. Okay, so if he is the first fruits of them that slept, what does that mean? Well, it means he's the first, right? He's the first fruits. What happened after he rose up? It said that the other saints that had been asleep, right, rose up also and went into the streets. But see, Jesus was the first resurrection. He was the first fruits of them that slept. Some people will say that Moses and Elijah appeared at the Mount Transfiguration. And they'll say, see, Moses and Elijah had come from heaven. Well, that doesn't mean that. It just means that Jesus was transfigured there and Moses and Elijah was there. For God, it's no big deal to bring Moses and Elijah up from Abraham's bosom or paradise, or to bring them down from heaven. To me, that doesn't have any argument of where these men came from. So I think that all the other scriptures show that they had to come from the heart of the earth, because the blood sacrifice for them to get to heaven has not been paid yet, according to Hebrews chapter 10. Now, people will say that Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And they will say, Elijah was in heaven. There is scripture that Elijah was in heaven. Well, you have to understand what heaven is. Does that mean he was caught up into heaven where God is? Or does that mean that he's caught up into the first heaven? Or even the second heaven? You say, Chris, you're not making any sense. Maybe we'll do a separate study on that, but real quick, there's a first heaven, that's your sky. There's a second heaven, that's like outer space. And there's the third heaven, that's where God is. When Paul was stoned and he had an out-of-body experience, he says, in the body or out of the body, I don't know, but he says he was caught up into the third heaven. He was up in the third heaven. So we know if you're caught up in the third heaven, there must be a second and a first heaven. And I think Elijah was caught up into that first heaven. So he really didn't go to heaven. He just got caught up into that first heaven. Okay?